just to bring this little session to a close for the Digital Journalism MOOC, I would like to ask you your top 3 tips that you would give to reporters who are in the digital space, little things, little tidbits that have worked for you or some of the reporters you work with.
So you have to know what stories are going on around you, and then ask yourself in each one of those stories what's missing, what's wrong, what did the reporter miss? What do you bring? What's your, and that requires you, this is still part of my answer for part 1, you have to ask yourself, like, really be able to pay attention to your gut, not so much to lose yourself when you're reading stories or listening to somebody talk about a story, but to really kind of feel it as a human. Like, how do I respond to this news? And really to trust that instinct. I heard the other day that a kid went nuts in Santa Barbara and shot 7 people, and my first reaction was as a parent, not as a reporter, and I have to pay attention to that. That's part of the uniqueness of my full humanity that I bring, right? So when a parent appears on TV and gets upset and calls for gun control, my initial response isn't, that's unconstitutional. It's real sympathy for the man who just lost a child. I cannot imagine the despair, right?
Yeah.
So and that's not the best example I can come up with, but it's an example of where I have to really pay attention to who I am as a human.
And what you bring to the table.
And what I bring to the table. And then all my complicated intellectualizing about the issue, right? That's just the unique package that I bring, that every human out there brings to each story. So be a media critic, watch what's going on around you, and ask yourself, was that story done in exactly the way that I would do it? What else is available for me? Point number 2 is similarly, when listening, when you're a reporter, your currency, your cash, your money is story ideas. So I'm always reminding reporters to listen in the same way that, I just described reading the news. I'm always, my wife does not like this, but I'm always listening for story ideas. Reporters complain that I'm the guy who will listen to them just talking about their weekend, and I'll go, that's a story. Think about this. That's a story, right? So sometimes the thing that you're listening to there's somebody's telling you a story, you can really hear it and say, I'm lost in the listening to a story the way that, what was it, 1001 Tales, Arabian Nights kind of thing. I'm just lost in the story, the narrative. But all of a sudden I realized, wow, what a great story that might be. What could I do that would be interesting in describing what I just heard? So really turning listening into a function of your work if you enjoy the work. And then I guess, the social media thing and branding, which we've talked about at some length already, I can't emphasize enough how critical it is to find out what you do well and what interests you. I have a friend who is a part-time novelist and full-time reporter for business publications, and his area of expertise is cargo containers. It sounds like the most mundane thing, but it's an inch wide and miles deep, and he knows more about the subject than almost anybody in the United States of America. And so when people want to know about cargo containers, or a cargo container went over the edge of a ship in the Pacific, what's going to happen to it, how do you insure when it's in, this guy knows. And then he goes off and writes mystery novels in his spare time, right? So he knows that's his thing, and he's actually really fired up about it in a way that I could never be. But he loves it. It's the greatest thing in the world to him. And he's become an expert, a wonk, a guy who is really on fire and knows that thing.
Okay.
My other friends write about property rights or guns. Another friend of mine writes about sports in a very analytical and numbers-oriented way. These are people who all have discovered who they are.
No, I think that's great, and I think that it sort of speaks to sort of becoming a subject matter expert.
Yes, it does. That's exactly right. You've got to know something. The person who is a general assignment reporter is always trying to catch up to the experts on every story. That takes time. It's like climbing Everest in your part-time. You go a little bit up, you come back down, and you go back, then you come back up. It's you got to climb Everest, man.
Well, I want to thank you for speaking with us. This is Will Swaim, who is the editor of watchdog.org. If you have anything you want to tell us about upcoming projects?
Well, we're working on some really great projects. I would encourage people to go and look at our site. It's watchdog.org. As you said, we've got a series on, we do a lot of political corruption stories. So my favorite right now is in the state of Wisconsin, where a group of, I would argue, unseemly politicians are using secret investigations there to target their opponents. That's a blast of a story to write. So people can go online and they can read all 60-some stories in that series in a night and just have a great time. Curl up with a little investigative story about corruption in Wisconsin.
Sounds fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.